In the last 3 months, I have spent over 3 lakh on paid ads for my agency and have tried multiple offers. So I wanted to let you know like what is the core fundamental difference between retainer model and a performance model, which is a pay per lead or a pay per estimate, because these are the two kinds of offer which have been going into the agency space, right? So you need to understand what is the differentiation between both these offers and what are the pros and cons for each of them, so you can choose the right offer for your needs, for your agency that is suitable for you. Okay, so let's begin. So retainer is an old pricing model for agencies which have been going for the last over decade or something like that, right? So retainer model is pretty simple, where you charge a management fee from your clients for your services, okay, and the client has to pay for the ad spend as well. So for example, your management fee would be, let's say you charge $1,000 per month to run Facebook ads for them, and they also have to spend a certain amount, let's say $1,500 per month onto the ads, so that you run the ads and get them more leads. So in total, client pay $2,500 for your marketing services, and then you run ads to get them more leads, more customers. Okay, and that's how this retainer model usually work. Okay, which is pretty good, decent. And when it comes to the pay per lead, it is a very simple pricing model. You can say it is more of a performance based structure, where you just charge for a specific outcome, whether it could be a lead or it could be an appointment. Okay, so in this there's no adjustment the client has to pay, there's no monthly retainer, you just charge for every lead or every appointment that you generate for the business. Okay, so in this you have to cover the ad spend. So for example, one of the offer that we have ran for our agency is we will charge $75 per lead, no monthly ad spend, no retainer. So I run ads for them, and I know I can get a $30 CPL, which is $30 cost per lead in my niche, let's say in construction niche. So I would make approx $45 profit from every single lead that we generate for a particular business. So if I give them 30 leads a month, I would make approx $45 into 30, which is around $1,350, right? So as you can see the difference between, I'm going to do the exact same service, but if I'm charging retainer model, I'm only going to make $1,000 for the same service. On the other hand, if I go with the pay per lead offer, I would make 35% more from that single client. And this is just the beginning, right? If I can bring, let's say if someone is have the capacity to handle, let's say 40 leads or 50 leads, I'm going to go make more than that with performance model. So that is the main core fundamental difference between retainer model and a pay per lead offer. Okay. Now let's talk about little pros and cons for each model. So in retainer model, the pros for the retainer model, that it is a predictable upfront income. You get to charge a certain amount, let's say your management fee upfront before you even start the service, right? And you get paid regardless of the exact results, because you do not guarantee a certain outcome or certain results. Let's say even if you bring them 20 leads, you still get paid $1,000, or even if you bring them 35 leads, you still get paid $1,000 management for your services. So you get paid regardless of the exact results. And third benefit of retainer model, that it adds a certain level of financial certainty. Okay, because you know that if you have 5 clients who is paying you $1,000 per month, then you are going to make $5,000, even if the results goes a little bit up and down. Okay, so it adds a certain level of certainty into the business. Okay, the cons, the disadvantage of retainer model, that it is capped earning potential. You cannot make more money with one single client, because you do not get to charge based on the performance, right? So you charge a certain amount which is fixed, let's say $1,000 or $1,500 per month for your management service, that is fixed. It does not matter if you bring them a 10x ROI or 20x ROI, you are still going to get paid that $1,500 per month. Okay. And second, that it requires a strong trust and sales a skill, because you're going to sell the, not selling the particular, you can say the outcome or tangible outcome. You are selling a service where you are saying that I'm going to run ads for you to generate more leads and customer, and this could potentially happen, but there is no guarantee in that. Okay, you might run ads, you might not get leads, you might not get customers. Okay, so it requires a strong trust building and the sales skill, so for you to sell the retainer model. Okay, and whether when it comes to talking about the paper lead, it is completely opposite. The pros, like the advantage of paper lead offer, that it is completely performance based, and your upside is unlimited. You can make $1,000, $2,000, even $3,000 to $4,000 from one single client if they have the capacity to handle that many leads and appointments, and you can bring them that much volume, right? So you can make more money with paper lead or paper estimate offer. Okay, so that is the number one advantage, is that you can make Second, it is easier to sell. It is a more of a transactional and outcome driven sale, because you are just telling them that we will bring you a certain number of leads, or we will bring you a certain number of appointments, and we only get to charge based on the number of leads and the number of appointments that we bring you. So it is easier to sell because it is completely outcome driven. They are buying a certain outcome. They're not buying your service, your marketing service, running ads, anything like that. They're buying a tangible outcome, right? And that's why it is easier to sell. And third, it requires less trust building, because as I said, you are not selling something untangible, you are selling something tangible. So you do not need to require to build a lot of trust. Even if you just show them that this is the particular outcome looks like, this is what we're going to deliver, and this is what the charges looks like, so you can just make, so you just get to charge a little bit of, let's say, upfront, as a commitment. You can charge a small setup fee of $300, anything like that. And it's easier to sell because it does not require too much of trust building, so people are buying certain outcome, and it's more of a transactional, so nothing, like no bigger need to build a higher trust authority or anything like that, right? So those are the pros for the pay per lead offer. When it comes to the disadvantage and cons, your income stops if the lead flow drops. So for example, let's say if 1 month you bring them 30 leads, you get to make, let's say, $1,300 or $1,500 from that one single client. Let's say on the next month you only get them 20 leads, then your income drops to only $1,000, or let's say $800, right? So your income stops, or let's say your income can literally drop if the performance is not there, okay? Because it is completely result based. And second, you carry the financial risk, because let's say if you are upfronting the ad spend, and you are spending your money onto the ads to bring them more leads, more appointments, then let's say, for example, if the lead cost increases, then you make less money. If the appointment cost increases, you also get to make less money, right? So there's always a certain level of financial risk that is involved into this performance model, okay? So now the question would be what you should do in 2026. Okay. So if you ask about my experience, what you should do. So I would say the market is evolving. The businesses are getting burned out, having bad experiences, and losing money. Okay. On different agencies. So we need to understand the market and move accordingly. And you might have seen that the market is literally shifting from retainer model to pay per lead or pay per appointment model. Okay. So you need to understand that and make the shift accordingly. But still, I would recommend you should go for retainer model if you're just starting out. Let's say if you just started your marketing agency, you don't need to go with the performance model because you don't know how the service looks like, what is the performance looks like. So you shouldn't go with the pay per lead or pay per appointment model. You should just go with the retainer. Start with doing free trials or paid trials, and then start charging certain amount, whether it's $500 or $1,000, a retainer model, so you can make a little bit money, get the data, understand the market properly. Okay. Second, if you're making less than $2,000 to $3,000, don't go with the performance model because you do not have the financial capacity to handle that back end process. Okay. And third, if the niche is unsaturated, that means, let's say if niche is unsaturated, it's easier to sell the retainer model because people have not been burned out. They do not understand the advertising too much. So you can just tell them that this is what we are going to do and this is our prices. And it is easier for you to charge retainer and get the retainer client in unsaturated market. Okay. So if you meet these three criteria, you should go with the retainer model. Okay. And my suggestion for the go for performance model or like pay per lead or pay per appointment. If you know your numbers, if you know that if you spend this much money, you can get a lead. Let's say if you spend $30, you can get a lead in a particular niche, then you know your numbers. Okay. Or let's say if if I spend $100, I can get an appointment. So then you can charge, let's say, $200 or $250 per appointment. So you need to know your numbers before you go with the performance model so you can make the profit and deliver good results. Okay. Second, if your niche is really saturated, market is overly saturated, people have been burned out. So it's very hard to sell, you can say the retainer model because people do not want to pay because people have been burned multiple times. So if the niche is saturated, it is harder to sell retainer model, then you should absolutely go with the performance model because it is much easier to sell and you can make more money with one single client, right? So these are the few criteria that you can think of where which condition apply to you as per your condition, and then you can choose a particular offer. Okay. But eventually you need to move from retainer model to performance because that is where the market is moving, and you can make the most amount of money with fewer clients. If you go to the ad library, if you search about any particular marketing agency in a particular niche, you will see that everyone is doing pay per appointment, or paper lead offer. Okay. Why? Because the market is literally evolving. The agency have been in the game for a long time. A lot of people have been burned out by multiple agencies. People don't know how to deliver good results. People don't want to spend for the services anymore. They wanted tangible outcomes. And that is where the market is evolving. So you need to understand that and move accordingly. So obviously, I start with retainer model if you're just starting out, but eventually you need to move from retainer to performance, or you can include the both, which is performance and retainer model at a certain level. But it's not possible for every single client or every single niche. So eventually you need to move from retainer model to performance model. Okay. And the biggest advantage with the performance model is that you can get to make more money with fewer clients. Let's say if you're charging a retainer model, you charge, let's say, 1,500 or $1,000 per month. In order to make $30,000, you need 30 clients to pay you $1,000 per month, which is a lot of clients to handle. On the other hand, if you go with, let's say, performance model, and you make, let's say, $2,000, $3,000 per client, because it's a performance model, you just need 10 clients to make $30,000, right? Obviously there's some risk involved in that, but you can make the same amount of money with fewer clients if you go with performance model, and you will have better clients who can handle that volume that you supply to them. Okay. So that is the main advantage. So people don't want to buy marketing services anymore. They want tangible outcome. So that's what we need to sell. Okay. So that is where I am also moving my agency, going from retainer to performance model. I started with paper lead. Now I'm doing paper appointment model as well, but I have both the offer. If someone has less money, we will sell them paper lead. If someone has more money, then we will sell them paper appointment or paper estimate offer. Okay. So that's what currently I am doing in my agency, and trying to scale it to the $10,000 per month in my agency. Okay. So yeah, that's the core fundamental difference between retainer and paper lead. And that's what something you need to consider based on your situation. Okay. So yeah, I hope you get some clarity about what you need to do, what offer you should pick. And if you have any particular questions, do let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.